All right, so I'm in Abing, Minnesota. I came up here actually to go check out the viewing of a giant iron ore mine, and the viewing thing is closed until next year. Not a surprise. But anyway, so I happened to stumble on the Greyhound Museum. This is actually the birthplace of the Greyhound bus company. They started out with a Hupmobile, similar to this one, and the three guys, they ended up calling it the Hup. The first day they made $11.50. Second day they cleared $7.40, and 3 days later, on a Saturday, they made $20 after the expenses. Good start. And if you are a collector of toy buses, they got pretty much a model of every Greyhound bus I ever had. And when I was thinking of possibly converting a Greyhound, I was looking for an old one like that one. Well, as you'd expect, there's a limited number of people you could carry in that, and a lot of it, the reason about it was people walked. Hebring's a mining town, and because of the value of the iron ore here, the very good iron ore, they picked the town up and moved it. So now it was farther away from where the miners worked. So in transportation, that's why they came up with the idea of doing this. What they ended up doing was taking vehicles and take the body off, cut the frame, extend the frame out, and make a bigger body. And that worked out pretty good. But then the brothers found that there was a company in Cleveland that was making buses, so they ordered a couple of them. They got them delivered. When the first time they got a full load of passengers, it wouldn't move, and they had to try to figure out what's going on, and realized that the passengers were so heavy it pushed the springs down, and the fenders were hitting the tires and weren't letting it turn. So they added more leaves to the springs, made the springs stiffer, got it up so they could continue going. Well, then they decided rather than have to buy buses and modify them, why don't they just build their own? And they opened up the Mesaba Motors and started building buses like these. And there were so this is some of the pictures of some of the buses, and if you get out to Yellowstone, you'll still see buses that look quite similar to that, driving around giving tours. So this is sort of cool. In order to make bus travel a little more comfortable, they tried all kinds of different designs. Even ones like this one that had sleeping compartments down below. Wouldn't it be great to have one of these? Converting it into a schoolie, wouldn't have to do much. So let's take a look at some buses. Here's one from 1927. So this one's a 1936 Super Coach. Get an idea, this is what it looked like before the restoration. It was gutted, windows broken, and this is the first bus that was all metal, and it had a motor at the rear of the bus instead of the front. And of course, this one had the storage underneath, which was another innovation. You could probably guess from the uniforms on the mannequins that this was a bus from the 40s. This actually was 1948. And I thought it was cool. I used to have one of those cameras. I didn't have the flash attachment, but I had that camera. In 1947, same sunken walkway, but overhead racks and leather seats, but sort of really nice. Lots of headroom, but you got to step up to the seat. So this is one from 1947, and the bullseye design was to honor the RAF from the Battle of Britain. This one's a 1967 GMC, and it was used as a band bus, but when the band broke up, it was donated to the museum, and they basically gutted it and restored it. This is the first one that's a little easier to get up into, lower steps. But then when you get in here, it's sort of different, is that there's 3 steps up. So these first 2 seats get nice view, or actually the first 3 rows of seats get a nice view because they're up above everybody else's head and they can see out the front. And of course, they get luggage racks, and this is the first one here that's got the good old Greyhound restroom. If you've ever ridden a Greyhound, use one of those while it's moving down a bumpy road. It's an interesting experience. Now, if I was going to convert a Greyhound, this was the kind I would have loved to find. It's a Scenic cruiser, and all kinds of headroom, and the seating up above, good view. So pretty cool. I think they're still working on it. Can't go in. Maybe I can. This was 1956. Again, stepping up, you got the first few rows here. You're looking out the window with the driver, and there's a nice skylight, so nice and light. There's the lavatories right here, but then you get 3 steps up to get to the main seating area up above, and like I said, you get a nice view if you're sitting here driving down the road. You're looking out over the roof, and that's why it's a Scenic cruiser. Like I said, if I wanted to convert a bus, this would have been ideal if you're especially if you got a family and cruising down the road. Okay, so that's the bus's inside. Now let's go check out some of the ones they've got outside, and there's one that's really rough. That's going to be interesting. Wouldn't you just love to have a bus like this? Pretty basic seats, but what's sort of cool is a way to get up to the luggage rack up on top was to climb up on these. And of course, back in the day, that's where all the luggage was before they came up with the idea of raising the bodies up and having them underneath. So this is a 1994 MC12. So this is actually in the range of years when we would be looking at if you were looking at converting an old Greyhound. How about a couple of 1947 ACF Brills? Restored and a bit rough. Air conditioned, doors back a little bit farther, storage underneath for luggage, and had the engine in the mid engine, so get an idea of having the engine in the middle. I got to figure to work on that engine, you got to drop it right out. I don't think it'd be really fun to work on. So have you ever wondered what the skeleton of a Greyhound bus looks like? Well, there you go. Pretty much stripped right out. No idea years or anything on that. The one next to it is quite old, and I like the idea of the scoop up on the roof down to the rear engine. So this is the Greyhound Escorter. It was built for the 1964 World's Fair. Driver in the back. It was used to move VIPs and handicapped people around the fair. They think that there was only about 14 of these built, and at the end of the fair they pretty much just junked them. This one might be the last one in existence. It was found at the Greyhound's old Dallas refurb facility, and they pulled it out of the junk heap, and the workers there spent many hours making new panels and getting it to look as close to what it originally looked like as possible. Well, that's going to end my my visit to the Greyhound Museum. It's a pretty cool place to get to. I was headed to the viewing thing for the big mine, but it's closed until until next summer, 2019. So, but stumbled on this, and this is pretty cool. So I'm going to get on the road and see what I can find up at the next town. See you later, YouTube.